Alright, here's the solutions to our test. If you know how to do these, you're going to know how to do number 1 on the next test because they're very, very similar. All you have to do is know the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That means you have to do parentheses first. Do what's inside the parentheses first, and then this is exponents. Then multiplication and division is from left to right, and then addition and subtraction. So I have to do what's inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses is negative 2 minus 3, which is negative 5. And then you square that and you get 25. Minus 18 gives you 7. Treat absolute value just like parentheses. So 3 minus 10 is negative 7. So absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. So I have 4 minus 7. So I'm looking at the top. It's 12 minus a negative 4. So minus a negative means you're adding. So it's 12 plus 4, which is 16. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 2 squared is 4. So I have 16 divided by 2, which is negative 8, minus 4 is negative 12. Parentheses first. So I have negative 2 squared, which is 4. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. Absolute value is positive 9. If there's no symbol there, it's multiplication. 27, negative 8, negative 35. Find f of negative 2. That means grab f, that's f. Plug in negative 2. So I have negative 2 squared. You have to use parentheses because you have to square the whole x. And the x is negative 2. So that's 4 minus 1 is 3. H of negative 2. H of negative 2. Here's h. Is this graph? So on my h I have negative 2 for my x, and the y would be 2. So my input is negative 2, my output is 2. This one goes the opposite direction because I know h of x is negative 3. So if h of x is negative 3, that's my output. So your output is negative 3. So you go negative 3, and then you go over to negative 4. X when g of x is 17. 17 for my g of x. So g of x is 17. So 17 is g of x equals 2x plus 5. Subtract the 5 from both sides and divide by 2, and that's how I got the 6. So it's asking me, what's the input that gives me a 17 as an output? Here's the input, find the output. Here's the input, find the output. Here's the output, find the input. Determine which ones are functions. For every x, there can only be one y, but this x, 1, gives you 2 different y's, so it's not a function. Every x is consistent, so if I plug in 2, I get out a 9. Plug in 2, I get out a 9, so it's a function. If I plugged in 1, my input was 1, I would get a 2 or a negative 2, so it's not a function, it's not consistent. For every input, I get one output. For every input, I get one output. For every input, I get one output. So it's a function. The domain is your possible x values. So my smallest x is negative 4. All the way over to 4. But the open circle says you can't include 4. So 4 is not equal. Negative 4 is equal. So I can have all the values from negative 4 to 4, but not 4. The range is your possible y values. Your possible y values. So negative 3 all the way to 3. So I have negative 3 all the way to 3. Can it equal negative 3? No, because of that open circle. Over here we've got X could be anything bigger than -2, but it can also be -2 because there's no open circle. And it can go all the way to infinity. So you could even write that this way if you wanted to. Most of you didn't. So 0 is my lowest y, but it could equal 0 because there's no open circle. And it goes up forever. So you could even write this one with also infinity. This also works. Just multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. X to the third times x to the fourth. There's 3 of them being multiplied together there. 4 of them here. That's a total of 7. So 1 being multiplied to 3 of them over here. So that's a total of 4 being multiplied. 2 over 8. You've been doing that for 6, 7 years now. Is just reducing. That's 1/4. And then you look at the a's and you go a to the 5th over a. 1 would cancel out, leave me a to the 4th on top. B to the 3rd over b to the 6th. 3 would cancel out, leave 3 on the bottom. Most people got this one right. 3 squared is 9 because it's 3 times 3. X to the 4th raised to the 2nd means I have x to the 4th times x to the 4th, which is x to the 8th. Y squared, which is y squared. I squared this guy first, so I just rewrote this part, the a, b to the 5th, and then this a to the 2nd squared, so it's a to the 4th, b to the 6th, because it's b to the 3rd times b to the 3rd, just b to the 6th. Wrote the bottom, and then I looked at it and said, oh, there's 1 here and 4 there. That's a total of 5 being multiplied together. 5 here and there's 6 there being multiplied together, so that's 11 total being multiplied. And then I look to reduce. 5 on top, 10 on the bottom. 5 would cancel and leave me 5 on the bottom. 11 on the top, 8 on the bottom. 8 cancel out, so these are all gone, and there's 3 left on the top. So you should be looking at your test, figuring out what you did wrong, and trying to fix it so that next week, on this Friday, you're going to be able to do well on these types of problems on the test, because number 4 is going to look just like number 4, and number 5 is going to look like number 5. All I'm going to do is change a couple little numbers. You got to be ready for it.